Ladies and gentlemen, when you close your eyes and step into the silence, the world outside falls away and the real work begins. The true secret of life is not found in the noise, in the approval of others, or in the applause of the crowd. It happens in the unseen, in the still chambers of your imagination where no one else has access but you. The universe does not respond to words spoken aloud. It responds to the inner whispers you breathe into the unseen. That is the sacred place where destinies are born, where miracles are set in motion before anyone sees the evidence. You see, the greatest power you hold is the ability to feel now what you wish to experience later, not in front of others, not to prove anything, but in the quiet privacy of your own inner temple. What you dare to assume as true, in secret, becomes the script that life itself will follow. The world cannot resist it, because the world is only the shadow of your inner state. Most people spend their energy begging, striving, trying to control circumstances. But the awakened soul knows the true effort is inward. When you dare to imagine the end, when you walk in that inner scene as if it were real, you ignite a law that cannot fail. Life bends, paths appear. People, events, and even chance itself reorganize to mirror that assumption. The secret act within becomes the open reality without. So walk into your secret chamber tonight. Close the door on doubt. Shut the windows of fear. In that holy silence, clothe yourself in the feeling of already being the one you long to become. Speak silently to yourself, not as someone hoping, but as someone who already is. And watch how effortlessly the universe opens its doors, not because you forced them, but because you already stood inside them in your imagination. Your greatest treasures are hidden, not in what the world can see, but in what you dare to cultivate within when no one is watching. That sacred inner act is the seed, and once planted, it must unfold. For nothing can resist the man or woman who, in secret, already walks in the reality they wish to see. The real power of life is never where most people look for it. They chase the applause, the validation, the recognition of the crowd, thinking that when others see them, when others approve of them, then life will finally open its gates. But that is an illusion, a shadow, a distraction that keeps them looking outward when the true treasure has always been inward. The real work, the real alchemy, happens in the unseen. It is in the quiet of your own imagination, in the still moments where no eyes are watching, no ears are listening, and no judgment can reach you. That is where destiny is created. What the world cannot see is more powerful than what it celebrates. Think of the seed in the soil. It is buried, invisible, hidden beneath the earth where no one applauds it, where no one notices its struggle. And yet it is there in the dark that the roots take hold, that the transformation begins, that the miracle of growth is prepared. By the time the flower blossoms, people admire the beauty of its petals, but they forget that its strength was formed in silence, beneath the surface, unseen. So it is with you. Your imagination, your secret inner life, is the soil where the roots of your future are formed. When you close your eyes and step away from the noise of the world, you enter a kingdom where your thoughts are not limited by what is around you. There, in the silence, you are free to choose, free to assume, free to feel without resistance. No one can interrupt you there. No one can impose their doubt upon you. You are the creator in that private sanctuary. The real power lies in that hidden act of assuming a new state of being, of daring to feel as though the wish were already fulfilled, of embracing an inner vision so deeply that the outer world has no choice but to mirror it. Most people waste their days trying to fix circumstances on the outside. They fight with appearances, with problems, with people. But appearances are only the reflection of their inner assumptions. The wise one knows, if I want to change what I see, I must first change what I hold within. The invisible is the cause. The visible is the effect. To attempt to alter the effect without touching the cause is to waste effort, like rearranging shadows on a wall instead of turning the light. Your imagination is that light. It is the hidden power that shapes the world, though the world itself may never admit it. You do not need to shout your desires from rooftops. You do not need to beg the universe to hear you. You only need to dare, in the stillness of your heart, to feel as though the prayer were already answered, as though the reality were already yours. And in that unseen moment something shifts. The world outside cannot resist the change that has already taken root within. Do not underestimate the silence. Do not overlook the invisible, for it is in that quiet where the most extraordinary transformations take place. When you lie in bed at night and let yourself drift into the scene of your fulfilled desire, when you whisper to yourself words that no one else will hear, when you clothe yourself in the unseen garment of the person you long to be, you are planting seeds in the deepest soil of creation. And though no one applauds, though no one even knows, the harvest is certain. The universe does not open doors because you have shouted the loudest. It opens doors because, in secret, you have already walked through them. You have already felt the key turn in your hand. You have already stepped into the room of abundance, of love, of success. The outer world is slow to catch up, but it always does. Just as the flower inevitably pushes through the soil to reveal itself, so too will your inner vision press forward until it becomes visible to all. Understand this truth. The unseen is greater than the seen. Your life is not determined by the applause you chase, but by the assumptions you hold in the privacy of your soul. The world may doubt you, dismiss you, even laugh at you, but it cannot resist the reality of a man or woman who, in silence, has already assumed their desire as real. That is the secret of creation. That is the hidden power that moves mountains, opens doors, and transforms ordinary lives into extraordinary stories. So treasure the silence. Protect your secret moments. Guard your imagination as you would guard a sacred flame, for it is there, in the unseen, where your future is crafted. And when it blossoms, the world will marvel at your success, never knowing that the true miracle happened long before, in the quiet where only you and your imagination dwelt. Imagination is not a child's game, nor is it a fleeting daydream that comes and goes without meaning. It is the foundation upon which every reality is built. The entire world that you now see, every structure, every invention, every movement of culture began first as an invisible thought within someone's mind. Nothing exists in the outer world that was not first conceived in the inner. To understand this truth is to understand that imagination is not secondary to life. It is the very cause of it. When you begin to recognize this, something extraordinary happens. You stop giving your energy to appearances and start giving your attention to vision. For appearances are nothing but the shadows cast by imagination, and shadows can only follow the light that creates them. If you do not like the shadow you see in your life, you must not wrestle with the shadow itself. You must go to the light, the inner vision, the assumption you carry, and change it there. Then the shadow will naturally alter. The world often tells you to be realistic, to limit your vision to what your senses can presently confirm. But that is a prison, a trap that keeps you circling the same conditions again and again. Imagination does not ask for permission from reality, it gives orders to reality. What you dare to hold within your mind, what you dare to persist in feeling, must one day appear in the outer world. For the outer is nothing but a mirror. If you stand before a mirror and frown, do you expect the reflection to smile back? No. If you wish to see a smile, you must smile first. In the same way, life cannot show you joy, love, or abundance until you embody them inwardly. This is why Neville Goddard insisted that assumption, when persisted in, hardens into fact. It is not a poetic phrase, it is a law. When you clothe yourself in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, when you dare to accept within that it is already yours, you set a chain of unseen forces into motion. People will be moved, circumstances will be rearranged, opportunities will open, not because you force them to, but because life itself has no choice but to reflect your inner state. Think of imagination as the architect of your destiny. The builder may lay the bricks, but without the blueprint, nothing meaningful is ever built. Your imagination is that sacred blueprint. If you hold within you an image of lack, of limitation, of struggle, then the builder, life, will follow it faithfully, creating walls that confine you. But if you dare to draw a different plan, if you dare to imagine expansively, lovingly, abundantly, then life itself will build according to that design. There is immense freedom in this realization. You no longer need to beg for change, nor fight against circumstances as though they were enemies. You need only to step into the inner workshop of your mind and paint the picture of the life you long to live. Do not worry if the outer world mocks you, for the outer is always delayed, always the echo, never the cause. If you hold fast to your vision, the echo must eventually sound in harmony with the tone you first struck within. Imagination is not passive, it is active creation. When you sit quietly and allow yourself to see, to hear, to touch and feel in imagination that which you desire, you are not merely fantasizing, you are planting seeds in the soil of the universe. The soil does not care whether you plant roses or weeds. It will give back what you sow. So too your mind gives life to whatever images you persist in holding. If you allow fear, doubt, and limitation to dominate your imagination, do not be surprised when they bloom in your life. But if you dare to hold steadfastly to visions of beauty, success, and love, the same law will bring those forth in their season. Consider this: all great creators, inventors, visionaries lived in imagination before the world could see what they saw. The Wright brothers flew long before the first plane ever touched the sky. They flew in imagination. Edison lit the world long before the first bulb glowed. He lit it within his inner vision. Every masterpiece of art, every symphony of music, every discovery in science was first born in the imagination of a person who dared to believe what others could not yet see. So it is with your life. If you wait for proof before you believe, you will always remain where you are. But if you believe in imagination first, if you dare to assume that your inner vision is more real than the outer circumstance, then life has no choice but to yield to you. The seen bows to the unseen, the shadow obeys the light. Imagination is the secret power that allows you to live beyond your present conditions. You can be confined by walls, yet free in mind. You can face lack in appearance, yet live in abundance within. And if you hold to that abundance with faith and persistence, the outer walls will crumble and life will rise to meet the inner state you have chosen. That is the majesty of imagination. It shapes reality. It dictates the path. It turns the invisible into the visible. Understand, then, that the life you long for is not far away. It is already waiting within your imagination, eager to be expressed. You need not ask, will this ever happen? The moment you accept it inwardly, it is already real. Time is only the servant that brings it to light. Dare, then, to imagine boldly. Dare to assume lovingly. Dare to believe in the unseen more than in the seen. For in the end, imagination is the only true reality, and the world you experience is simply its reflection. Most people spend their entire lives exhausting themselves trying to force life into submission. They push, they strive, they chase after things outside of themselves, believing that if they can just control the circumstances, if they can just manipulate the details, then everything will finally fall into place. And yet, after all the effort, after all the sleepless nights and restless striving, they find themselves weary and frustrated because the world never bends by force. The truth, though often ignored, is this: the true effort is not outward, but inward. Life is not conquered with your hands, it is shaped with your state of being. There is a quiet paradox at the heart of creation. The harder you push against appearances, the more resistance you seem to encounter. The more you wrestle with circumstances, the stronger they appear. But when you withdraw your energy from the outer and place it within, when you dare to assume inwardly that the result is already yours, suddenly the impossible becomes effortless. This is not weakness, it is wisdom. For what you change within, the world has no choice but to reflect without. Think of a mirror. If you stand before it and do not like the reflection you see, would you try to alter the image in the glass with your hands? Would you smear the surface, hoping the face staring back at you changes? That would be absurd. And yet, this is what so many do with life itself. They try to rearrange the reflection without touching the original. They struggle endlessly with shadows, not realizing that the true cause is within. The moment you change your expression, your stance, your being, the mirror changes effortlessly. So too does life. True power then lies not in constant action, but in inward alignment. This does not mean you do nothing in the outer world, but it means your actions are born from inner certainty, not desperate striving. When you assume the feeling of already being the one you wish to be, your actions flow naturally, almost without effort. They are inspired, harmonious, and supported by circumstances that seem to align in your favor. What once felt heavy becomes light, because the world is no longer something you are trying to conquer. It is simply echoing the truth you already accepted within. There is a great relief that comes with this understanding. You no longer need to struggle endlessly to change people or force opportunities. You no longer need to beg life to give you what you desire. Instead, you learn to quiet the noise, to enter into the secret place of your imagination, and to let yourself feel as though the prayer is already answered. That inner assumption is the true labor, and once it is complete, the outer effort becomes minimal. It is like rowing with the current rather than against it. What once drained you now carries you with ease. The world has trained people to believe that success must be hard, that only through endless toil and sacrifice can anything meaningful be achieved. But look at the moments in your life when things unfolded with grace. The love that found you when you weren't chasing it. The opportunity that appeared when you least expected it. The sudden clarity that solved a problem without struggle. These moments reveal the deeper law. That effort is not in forcing life, but in aligning with it inwardly. Imagine an actor stepping onto a stage. He does not force the play to unfold. He does not beg the audience to believe. He simply embodies the role so completely that the scene becomes alive. In the same way, your task is to embody inwardly the state you wish to see outwardly. When you become it in imagination, when you carry yourself as though it is already true, the stage of life must follow the script you hold within. This is the essence of inner effort, to discipline yourself not to fall into doubt, fear, or constant questioning, but to persist in the assumption of your desired state. It requires no shouting, no pleading, no endless striving. It requires a quiet faith, a willingness to feel the end in the present moment. And this effort, though invisible to others, is the only true work that matters. Once it is done, the world will seem to rearrange itself without strain. The secret is that outward effort without inner alignment is wasted energy. It is like planting seeds in barren soil. But inner alignment, even with minimal outer action, produces results that seem miraculous. This is why some achieve so much with so little apparent struggle, while others struggle endlessly with little to show. The difference is not luck. It is the understanding that life is an echo of the inner state. So when you find yourself tempted to push harder, to fight against circumstances, remember this. Your greatest work is not in the outer world, but in the invisible workshop of your imagination. That is where you plant the seed. That is where you water it with feeling. That is where you persist until it grows roots too deep to be shaken. And once that inner work is complete, the outer will blossom naturally, with far less effort than you ever thought possible. This is the divine paradox. The less you force, the more you align. The less you chase, the more you attract. The less you wrestle with appearances, the more quickly they bend. The only true struggle is to hold fast inwardly to the state you desire. And once you master this, you discover that life itself becomes effortless. The doors you once tried to batter open with your hands swing wide of their own accord because you have already walked through them in imagination. What you do in the silence, in the privacy of your imagination, is far more important than anything you attempt in front of the world. The true act of creation is never public. It is hidden, subtle, and unseen. It is the quiet assumption, the invisible rehearsal of a new life, the gentle but persistent feeling that something already belongs to you even before the world sees a trace of it. That secret act, though no one claps for it, though no one knows it exists, carries within it the force to rearrange the outer world. In time, it will burst into visibility so naturally that others will call it luck or coincidence. Yet you will know the truth. The open result was nothing but the echo of a hidden act performed in silence. Think of an artist before the canvas is ever touched by paint. The real picture is already alive in the mind of the creator. The strokes of color are simply the outer expression of what has already been completed within. In the same way, when you dwell inwardly in the end you desire, When you play the scene of your wish fulfilled and allow yourself to feel the reality of it, you are painting invisibly on the canvas of life. No one sees it yet, but the masterpiece is already finished within. The brush of time will reveal it to the world, but its birth was secret. The outer world is stubborn only when you try to change it directly. But the moment you act inwardly, assuming the state, rehearsing the outcome, feeling the wish fulfilled, you shift the very foundation upon which circumstances rest. Life has no choice but to adjust itself. People are moved into place, opportunities open, events unfold, all without strain. What looks effortless in the outer world is the inevitable consequence of the hidden act you performed faithfully within yourself. This is why Neville Goddard often spoke of living in the end. To live in the end is to secretly walk as the person you long to be before the world has caught up. You do not announce it. You do not try to convince anyone. You simply embody it in silence. And slowly, the shadow of your inner assumption appears as solid fact. It is as if the universe conspires to bring you proof of what you already dared to accept inwardly. Consider the farmer who plants seeds. No one applauds the digging, the planting, the quiet covering of soil. To the eye, it looks like nothing has happened. But in secret, beneath the ground, life is stirring. Roots are spreading, shoots are forming, energy is gathering. Weeks later, when the plant breaks the surface, everyone notices. But the visible result is only the revelation of what was secretly at work all along. So it is with you. Your inner acts may feel hidden, unacknowledged, invisible. Yet they are the very cause of tomorrow's open reality. There is something sacred in this process. To act in secret is to align with the divine pattern of creation. Nothing in nature announces its transformation while it is still forming. The caterpillar does not invite the world to witness its cocoon. The seed does not broadcast its underground labor. Even the child in the womb grows in perfect silence until the time is right. Creation